There we go.
We're live, man, right?
Now we're
Live.
live.
Are we?
Yeah, we are.
How did that happen? I didn't go live.
We woke up today. We went to work. We pushed the button, and here we are.
Wouldn't it be woke up, got out of bed, dragged a comb across our head?
If we went full Beatles, yes, I would agree with that. You know,
Okay.
And I since I love the Beatles and Beatles versus Stones, I go Beatles. Then yes, the answer is correct.
Oh.
You had both of them last week with your shirt.
Yeah, you had both of them.
I
You're
did.
like Beatles.
I did
Stones.
last time.
That
I
was
had
the
both.
best.
Stones, Beatles. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Danny Worsnop on the show tonight. We're
Hello.
going to do a deep dive into the magic of the Gold Label collection.
Ah, yes.
But before that happens, you know what's next. Let's start the show. Yes. Weren't you just on a call with Andy Lund?
I
Jordan?
was. Yeah.
Really? Is he
I was
in
just
the
on a call
North
with him.
Woods or is he in
Yep.
Asia somewhere?
Nope, he's in the north now.
The North
I think
Woods of
he's.
Asia.
I think he's going back to Japan in March.
Really?
Yes.
Ah.
After the thaw.
I'm so excited for the show. We got Danny. Danny knows the ins and outs of this instrument, and it is going to be incredible. Welcome back to the show, Danny. You did the
Thank
show,
you. It's
man.
been so long. It was
Mike,
2020.
were you a co-host when we did the show with Danny? No,
No.
right? Lindsay was still on the show.
Yep. That's how long ago it was.
I think Andy Lund was still a regular on the show. Jordan didn't even know what Taylor Guitars was yet.
He kept calling
No,
it
I knew. I had to. know.
trailer guitars, and he was talking about the 316 Stone Cold Steve Austin edition.
Yes.
That's not even a thing.
That is not even a thing. So
It should be, but
So if you're new to the show, welcome. If you're a regular, welcome. We love you all. I see highs. Oh, I see. Look at this. 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 Sharpie's question. Maybe we can talk this guy into
Christopher
jumping in
Sharpie.
later. I don't know. If you're new to the show, thank you for joining. We get a little corny. We talk a lot. We put the nerd and guitar nerd. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just a bunch of guitar nerds from all walks of life. And you guys are too. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So here's how this goes. Producer Jordan and the Giordano. Are you Italian now?
Yes. Yes. Always have been.
He's an artiste.
Time out. He wasn't Italian earlier, was he, Mike? You're Italian.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I'm phoning it. I'm still Jewish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Say that
welcome
like-
either
like
way.
You're despondent. Like I'm.
No,
So,
I'm
come
proud.
on.
I'm proud. I'm proud.
Be proud. Yes.
You should be. Okay, there you go, ladies and
Ah,
gentlemen.
shucks.
This is how this works. We started this thing where, like, Weekend Update on SNL, if you watch it, Jordan is going to write, he writes my intros, so I have absolutely no idea what he wrote. I will read it exactly. It's PG. Don't worry. It's not going to be super offensive. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't read this yet.
Well, now it's PG.
Well, starting next one. Jay wrote this. What he's about to read.
I did not write this. Did I write this? I did not
Yeah,
write
yeah,
this.
you wrote this. Yeah, go ahead.
No. Okay, fine. Tonight, we are so excited to be joined by Danny Worsnop. Danny's in the corner up there. Everybody say hi to Danny. Danny is a tremendously talented guitarist, vocalist, and entrepreneur. You may know him from his work as the lead singer in Asking Alexandria, but more recently, we are fortunate enough to have been able to get a gold label into his hand, a gold label guitar, gold label collection. That's what we're talking about here. Into his hands to feature his freshly released single, Ain't No Use. We might get a little bit of a hint of Ain't No Use in a little bit.
Nice.
And we are talking about the guitar in detail. Gold label, I'm assuming, right? You wrote this.
Yep.
Gold label,
I did.
okay.
Doing well.
This is an exciting launch for us. I could not be more excited about this guitar. I am
you.
more. Oh, I see what you
could
did
have
here.
muted. I didn't.
What'd you do?
I
You couldn't be more excited about this guitar, but what?
this is an exciting launch. I could not be more excited about this guitar because I'm more of a Martin guy myself.
Whoa.
I see what you did there.
All right, that's weird.
Wow. Anyway,
Hey,
we're gonna
Martin's a
talk
great
about Golden-
guitarist. Dude, Martins are cool.
I know you had
know,
one, or
yeah.
did you return it? Anyway, we're guitar lovers here. We talk about all guitars. We're really excited to have Danny on the show. Let's keep the feed clean. Here's a little bit of a disclaimer. We don't want to have to put you in a timeout. Let's keep this thing clean. Let's have a good time. You guys know how this rolls over there in the feed. Most of you have been here before. Let's play a little game of what have you been listening to. Danny Worsnop, what have you been listening to lately, my friend?
All right, I'm going to give us a real time. I'm going to see what I've recently. I've recently actually been trying to use streaming platforms instead of just listening to stuff. Like I save artists, and I'm trying to curate kind of something. So what have I saved lately? Lee DeWays has been a new one. Who else have I found recently? It's been great. Larry Fleet's been awesome. Mitchell Ferguson, some really cool new stuff. And I'm forever listening to a bunch of Lauren Daigle and Stapleton and all that good stuff.
I
It's been
mean,
my current.
if you've heard Danny, the Stapleton vibe makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It does make a lot of sense. Danny, we're going to sneak peek something in a second, but
Okay.
hey, I don't know. It's not a sneak peek. It's out for everybody here. Anyway, Danny, thank you
We're
for
just
that.
peeking.
Mike, what have you been listening to?
Me?
Yeah.
The sound of moving trucks.
Oh, so you haven't been listening to any music? No?
As you can see, from the last time when I was moving out, now I've moved into the new place. But moving music for me has been a lot of Led Zeppelin recently. That Becoming Led Zeppelin movie just came out last week, and I can't wait to see it. I have not seen it yet. But it's been getting rave reviews from all of my friends that have gone and seen it in IMAX. And being that's what really, Jimmy Page being one of the three people that led me to want to play guitar.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of Led Zeppelin recently, just flowing through. Specifically, Song Remains the Same, the live album. So I've been catching up with a lot of Zeppelin and Black Sabbath. Massive Reality has been on top rotation.
Top
if you will,
rotation.
recently, so
You can't ever really go wrong with Led Zeppelin, or is that?
no,
No.
no,
Uh-uh.
no.
No.
No,
I love
it all
I love
works.
it. Mr. Giordano, what have you been listening to lately?
So I did what Danny just did. I was checking to see what I've been most listening to. So Chris Richardson and I went to NAMM together, and on our way back, he put on so many of these artists because he has, I think, one of the best tastes in music. Just eclectic taste of music.
Did he buy you lunch today, or
No.
you're just being
The-
nice?
Yeah.
He does. He has an impeccable
He has
taste in music.
no. He has great.
Dude,
great
we
taste in
should
music.
have Chris on the show.
He would be killer.
Okay.
The yes, you should. Okay, Aaron Frazier,
Oh yeah.
killer. He turned me on to Kurt Vile.
Okay.
Never,
yeah.
I never heard of these people. Damian Gerardo,
Oh yeah.
His Golden Messenger,
Yeah. Good
and
job.
then Syml, SYML, or am I saying that right?
I don't know that one.
It's it is this here.
Ah. Oh.
But,
I'm gonna look at that.
It's great. And then also the one that's most frequently played is Fahu Forest or Welcome Christmas because it's Penny's favorite song. It's from The Grinch, so that's just always on my phone.
Christmas all year long.
Christmas all year long when you have a
Yep.
daughter. Yeah, that's fair.
Totally.
Before I answer mine burning question, Jay, what is on your hat? This is the Philly Fanatic. This is my nod to the Eagles. Eagles winning
Boo,
the Super Bowl.
boo.
Why boo, man?
I don't know. I just didn't want either team to win, but I wanted it to be a better game.
Yeah, it could have been a
Yeah.
better game, but we can all agree that Pat Mahomes and Drake took the fall in that game. So
Drake
we'll move
didn't have a
on
good
and talk
time,
about
I don't
that
think.
later.
Yeah.
I have been listening to Ain't No Use a lot by Mr. Danny Worsnop up there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. Boy, I'm going to do the same thing. A lot of Cigaro lately. Ellis Dunes came out with a new record. It's called Violet. I've been listening to. And a lot of Kendrick Lamar, but I often listen to Kendrick Lamar. So that's that.
Is Cigaro? You don't pronounce the S, do you?
It depends on if you toured with them and they slightly pronounce it, so I pronounce it like they do. I act
Oh, wow.
like I'm from their hometown, and it's really butchered every time I do it, but they kind of are like Cigaro.
Oh, interesting. I've always said Cigaros, like I do hard S.
Cigaros.
The S is
most people
whispered.
call it
It's a
Cigaros. I
whispered
like
S.
it better that way.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I just never heard anyone else say it. Cool.
There you go.
Learned something
Well,
new.
we got it. Let's do a little this or that, or a little pick 'em with Danny, and then we're gonna get into the show. Danny, I just gotta go really quickly. Tequila or mezcal?
Tequila. I was never a big mezcal fan. We are making one, but I was never a big mezcal person. I'm not into the smokiness of it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna move past this next one and go, but I'm gonna circle back. Hasselblad or Leica?
Oh, I'm gonna have to say Leica in case someone listens, but
Yeah.
I mean it depends on what I'm doing. If I'm doing like a big editorial shoot, Hasselblad, but every other scenario Leica.
Did I tell you that Danny's a killer photographer? Well, he is. Okay.
If the this or that was Hasselblad and Leica, somebody's a really good photographer.
Yeah, right. 35 millimeter or 50 mil?
50.
Film or digital?
Digital, because you still haven't talked me into film yet.
Okay. Guitars. Rosewood or mahogany?
I'm gonna go Rosewood.
Acoustic or electric?
Acoustic.
Gold top PRS or gold top Les Paul?
PRS.
It's so
Oh,
good. He's
yeah.
got one. You
did.
got to
You called it.
understand.
You called it.
His gold top PRS is so great.
Yeah, it's a pretty wonderful one. I've always been completely enamored by gold top Les Paul family guitars. Period, and yeah, Paul made me that gold top out there, and I think the Gibsons are just they're a little too unruly.
That's fair. You you know what you get though,
Yeah.
right? And you're like, I'm gonna be all over the place just
Yeah,
a little bit.
I've had
That's
too
great.
I've had too many great Gibsons and also terrible Gibsons.
I mean,
Yeah.
guitars. Yeah, totally. We get that. So the next one is, as you guys may or may not be able to tell, Danny has a British accent.
Kinda sometimes.
Sometimes. He has lived in America for quite a while.
17
But
years.
I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
Aluminium or aluminum?
I say aluminium, but do you know the story of why that's a thing?
No, but I'd like to learn.
Coca-Cola. There was a misprint on the cans when they first came out with the cans. There was a misprint, and so much because it wasn't widely used. So many people saw the word for the first time written down on a Coca-Cola can on a misprint, and it was so widely just learned and accepted and then used as that in the US it just changed over.
Interesting. Wow.
Misprint.
That's trivia that I never
Now
knew.
we know.
Now I'm going to have useless information that I'm going to tell people all the time.
Yep.
Jordan, let's see who can say it first tomorrow at work.
Cool.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jay Parkin. You got Mike Venezia there. Jordan. I'm not going to.
Jordan.
Giordano Avnedi.
It's Giordano, isn't it?
And Danny Worsnop. We are so stoked to have Danny here. Did I miss anything?
I think
points.
you didn't miss anything, Jay. But just so I can have.
Oh,
this
talking
against-
points. I got talking points. Tequila. Will you tell us about you got a
Yes.
Up front, we said you were an entrepreneur. You have a handful of businesses, Danny.
Couple.
Talk to us about your tequila label, because I've had some, and it is absolutely remarkable.
Thank you. I mean, it started out of blatant alcoholism. Honestly, it was very expensive, and me and some people were talking, and it was. I just start a tequila company, and then it'll be way cheaper. I won't have to spend all this money on tequila, and it was kind of a joke at the time because I was. As I imagine a lot of people are like, you can't just start liquor companies. First off, lots of money. But also there's some kind of approval process. They, bare minimum, check your social medias and see if you should be allowed one. Apparently, there is no such board to control that entry point, and yeah, it kind of started and then became very real very quick, and now Assassinato Tequila exists, and we just went out of our way to refuse to cut any corners and just make the best thing for what we enjoy that we possibly could. And it seems like some people agree with us.
It's very, very smooth. If you guys are tequila drinkers, or if you're not tequila drinkers and you know
If
a
you're just
tequila drinker,
curious,
it is. If you're
the
curious,
best tequila,
it is.
Tequila Curious?
besttequilaever.com.
So for
We have the
tequila-
domain, so it's true.
For tequila, interestingly, I don't drink a lot, but when I do drink tequila, I sip it. I'm not I've never been a shots person. I worked in a bar. I bartended for a little bit, and I think it's kind of chaotic. I sip it, and so it's a really, really great sipping tequila. So maybe we'll give some more info in the feed after the show's over.
Yeah.
All right. You're a creative director. You're a photographer. You're just an all-around artist. How did you get into photography? I mean, you were an absolutely killer photographer.
Thank
for
you.
sure. Inspiring.
That stemmed. I always had a love just of pictures my whole life. And when I was a kid, I wanted a camera. I just wanted to run around taking pictures of people. And at the time, anything that I could take a picture of, I wanted to take a picture of. But I fell in love with just taking pictures of people and moments, and I fell in love with the idea of just being able to just immortalize a moment. And like this is a part of that person and a part of this moment that will live forever. And you can just go back and you can look at that picture in that moment in time whenever you want. And it was such just a deep and meaningful thing to wrap my head around when I was a kid. And I kind of stepped away from it for a long time until I was then in front of the camera for years, and just always just fascinated and annoying the hell out of any photographer that I had. And I'd have a photographer on staff, and everyone I was just bugging him. And one day, the photographer I had, Adam Elmakias, he basically just told me, "You're going to Best Buy and you're going to go buy a camera today, so you can stop bothering me."
I love that.
And I did that, and it never stopped.
Yeah, it's really interesting perspective. So we'll make sure we link all of Danny's socials in here. His Instagram is fantastic because you see a lot of his photography. And we did a photo shoot, or we did the video and photo shoot for this Gold Label campaign. And Danny just had his camera. And when he wasn't in front of the camera, he picked up his camera and he was behind the camera and he was capturing all these moments. And I appreciate your artistry for sure. So guitars and music. How did that start? When did you get into? You're an incredible singer, right? And did it start with vocals or did it start with guitar? How did that all go?
It started with a violin.
Really?
It started with songwriting. So it started
Okay.
just with words. My grandfather was a huge music fan and fancied himself as a blues singer. And anyone that would listen to him, he would tell them he was one. He was not. But he was a large, scary man, so people didn't really question it. You're being a lot.
Puppies are cute though,
She
and
is.
the
She's-
ratings are going to go through the roof.
Yeah.
Look, we already added 10 people in our group over here. We
She's
call 'em-
7 months old. If anyone knows anything about puppies, you understand what a nightmare that is. I'm so terrified with this being sat here right now because it's on top of a piano, the piano stool, the guitar stand, and if she knocks into it, ooh, then I'm buying a guitar today. Yes, I just grew up loving music, and it was made me want to write songs was Michael Jackson, and the earliest work I ever did was I think around 4 or 5 years old, maybe even 6, and I basically unwrote Earth Song, and I took Earth Song and turned it into a much worse song by a person who knows much fewer words, and that's somewhere on Earth. But it started there, and then when I got into school, there was a music program, and I started playing violin, and I traveled with an orchestra doing that for a number of years. And then I moved to trumpet, and I did that until I was 12, and then I got an acoustic guitar. And I didn't sing until I was 17, and Asking Alexandria recorded the first album, because we couldn't find a singer. So I accidented into that. We would have never known. Had we found someone, we'd never know I could do it.
Wow. I didn't know that story.
Yeah.
So you're an accidental singer for Asking Alexandria, but you left for a little bit, yeah?
I left in 2014. I actually never technically rejoined. So we work together still between my doing other things, but I never rejoined the band. So we kind of collaborate on stuff. And when my 100 other things aren't eating up my time, we can go play concerts and things of the such.
I love that. Well, gold label.
Yes. The most amazing
Gold label,
thing
gold
that's
label,
happened
gold
in my
label.
life.
This guitar collection, so we were looking for a character, to be totally honest. We were looking for a storyteller. We were looking for somebody who could help us visually and sonically tell the story of Gold Label. This is a counterpoint for Taylor guitars. Oddly enough, Danny is a huge Taylor guitar fan and endorsed artist, and he's been playing with us for a very long time. He started with GS Minis and escalated all the way to Builder's Edition. A14 CE Blacktop was the latest instrument that he absolutely fell in love with.
So
and then I called him, and I said, Danny, I got something. I'm gonna send you one of these, and I want you to try this out because I think it's something that you've never played before, but something that I think all of us have been looking for. So to set that up, I'm gonna have Mike lead us into the Gold Label. Mike, you spent a lot of time at NAMM with all of your dealers.
I spent a lot of time at NAMM in
And
general.
you were exhausted per our
Yes.
last episode when we were sitting on the couch and you were just telling us how tired you were. Talk to us about the Gold Label collection as a whole, and then we'll dive into some little nuances and little parts of this guitar and kind of do a deep dive and tell you everything you need to know about this guitar so that you guys can go try them and potentially buy them. Okay, Mike, Gold Label collection.
Gold Label Collection, an essay by Michael Venezia. The Gold Label collection of guitars it fits something that Taylor didn't have before. You know, Andy will tell you himself when he was thinking about this new collection of guitars, he looked at what we had already and said, what else is there? Right? Because everything that we have sounds incredible, looks incredible, plays incredible. I mean, we've always had the most incredible playing guitars out there, easiest to play. And it's something that we've always prided ourselves on, because if something plays well, you'll make it sound good, right? If it's easier to play, you want to pick it up, you'll make it sound good. But on top of that, we've had an array of different tones using different tone woods and different shapes. But outside of what we were normally doing, Andy was thinking, what else is there? And he created the Gold Label collection of guitars, which I don't want to call it a throwback sound. It's not, in my mind. It's just a furthering of Taylor tone. In other words, it's going to give you something that might be more reminiscent of an earlier era of guitar making,
Yeah.
but with modern appointments and playability and adjustability that is totally native to Taylor guitars. So it's still a Taylor guitar, but it just gives you more flavorings, more spices for your stew, if you will, in order to widen the tonal palette that we provide for the player. So, and it does it while giving a more, I guess you want to say maybe a little bit more elegant aesthetic, a different aesthetic, a more, the aesthetic is a little bit more of a throwback when you think about it, a little more Art Deco, a little bit more turn of the century-ish, with the design of the pickguard and the inlay on the pickguard and the new Taylor logo. And actually the crown itself on the headstock is cut differently, but it's still similar. It's still very Taylor-esque. So it's reminding you that, hey, this is a Taylor, but it's offering you something very different and something very beautiful tonally. I know that it sounds like a cop-out to say that, but that's the best way I can describe it. It's full, it's big, it's warm. It is a slightly bigger shape. The gold label, the first shape is something called the Super Auditorium, which is a little fatter version of our Grand Auditorium. It's a little bit longer. It's a little bit wider. Not by much, but by enough to make a difference to where you'll look at it and you go, that's familiar, but there's something different about it. It definitely looks a little bit bigger, but it definitely adds a little bit more body, a little more low end, a little more oomph behind it, a little more volume, just a little bit more rounded out tone overall. And not just on the low end. The high end is still very articulate, but it has a roundness to it as well. And all that is part of the construction using V-Class, a fanned V-Class construction on it as well. So all of these things, Andy will always tell you guitars are some of its parts, and some were little changes and some were bigger changes, and all of it led to a very unique sound within the Taylor universe.
It's, I've heard a lot of these. I've, been responsible for my team producing all the content around these guitars. There's been a lot of interviews. There's interviews with Andy. I've heard so many different reactions to this. So we're going to get into Danny's reaction in a second. But one of them that was really interesting is if you take all the great parts of all the greatest guitars, acoustic guitars, and you put it on a dartboard, this one, it's a bold statement. This was not made by us, by the way. Okay? It was a third party who said this. If you take all of that and put it on a dartboard, the gold label collection is the bullseye. So it's all of there's so many great guitars out there. Jordan has a D28 that's absolutely phenomenal. Our boy Zach Arndt and his collection of Collings guitars. I've had Lervays and Gibsons, and we've all had all these different instruments and Taylors, right? There has to be something out there that is just the one. And we talked about it a little bit with Andy, or maybe I brought it up in the last show, that Andy has this thing where he wants to design and make 4 perfect guitars. A flat top steel string guitar, an electric, arch top, and a classical. Well, in his opinion, he thinks he found the acoustic that he loves the most, and that would be that Super Auditorium right there. And then his power's electric. So that means we still have an arch top and a classical guitar coming at some point.
I'm excited for the arch top.
I know it's going to be ridiculous. However, it'd be cool. Maybe Danny, would you want to play maybe a verse and a chorus or something?
I can do that.
Let's see if this works out. Sometimes the platforms will crunch the audio just a little bit, but let's see if we can try.
Working on it. We should be here. When I was 16, my biggest dream was a V8 screaming, burning gasoline, flying down back roads from flashing lights. First taste of feeling there was more to life. Turned 21 out in Hollywood, had a little more fun than I probably should. Learning both ends till the morning light. Got a whole lot of nothing fishing for those highs. I wanna slow it all down and lay some roots, but I can't turn myself into someone new. Let's try song that brought me home, took my flaws and held them on. I wanna change myself for you, but it ain't no use.
Dude, come on. Now do you guys understand?
It sounds so good.
My goodness, man.
Now do you understand why I've been listening to Ain't No Use and Danny Worsnop? So, like, you gotta understand this dude is so talented and just a joy to work with. This is like we have a lot of artists that we work with who are absolutely phenomenal people. Danny is one of them. How great was that? You guys, maybe we'll get a little bit more of Danny a little bit later. I'd love to dive into some of the innovation in this instrument with Mike and Jordan and Danny, and then I really want to dive into that. I have a little bit of Q&A for Danny because truly, you saw that. The second he gets the guitar in his hand, he writes music. And I'd love to hear some real-time reactions from Danny in a second. But Mike, can you walk us through the innovation? What is different about this instrument?
Well, again, the most obvious thing is the shape, right? And I mentioned it. It's called the Super Auditorium. It has a little bit more length and width than a standard grand auditorium, but it does retain the number 4 as the shape number because of its resemblance to the grand auditorium. So what Danny has there is the gold label 814E Honduran Rosewood with spruce top.
I will say while you're talking about the body shape, if anyone's curious about this, because I ran a risk for it. I had some fly shows, and I do not want to check a guitar ever. It does fit still in the Grand Auditorium soft case that you guys have, which
Great.
I didn't check with you first, Jay, because I just ordered it on
that's awesome.
Amazon. I was like, I have to fly tomorrow. I need something that's going to arrive in the morning, and I was like, we're going to see if it still fits. It does.
Oh,
Great,
that's
perfect.
interesting. Now we know.
Now we know. Even better.
Beta
Sorry to
testing.
throw you off. Sorry to throw you off
No,
your
no,
roll
no,
there.
all good. So that's the first thing you're going to notice again is the shape, and obviously the shape and the V-class fan bracing, which you can't see, but that is what's happening on the inside of the instrument. It's a different bracing pattern for this particular shape to coax some more low, mid, and low end out of the instrument on top of the extra surface area that is provided by the Super Auditorium. So that right off the bat. Second of all, you have the curve wing bridge, which is borrowed from our Builder's Edition guitars. So you have that rounded edges on the bridge itself, but the bridge is not ebony. It's Honduran Rosewood. So that's going to add a little bit more warmth as well. And as opposed to using ebony bridge pins, we're using bone bridge pins on these instruments. So again, more traditional style, more traditional materials, giving a more traditional sound, for lack of a better term. Again, adding that warmth and that low end to it. So changing all these things is making for a big sonic difference. Now, of course, I talked about the aesthetics of it, the crown of the headstock and the new Taylor logo, which Andy says he just kind of scrolled out and said, "Hey, this looks good," and kept it, which is awesome. And of course, the different pickguard shape, but really, the adjustability of this guitar is really where we've pushed the envelope a little bit more in as far as the technology side. So, the Taylor's always a company of technology, innovation, quality guitars, consistency. The action control neck is the next step in that progression.
What's that, Mike?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Jay. The action control neck is what's installed on our gold label guitars. So before we talk about that, though, we need to kind of go back and go through a little bit of the history of Taylor necks in general. So when Bob first started building Taylor guitars, he bolted on the neck from day one. Our necks have been bolted on. And it was where there were 2 bolts in the heel, and then we had glued the fingerboard extension where the neck and body meet. That fingerboard extension was glued on. Fast forward to 1999, which is when we introduced something called the NT neck, which we now call the Taylor neck. And that's where we have 2 bolts in the heel and 1 bolt in the fingerboard extension. And there's shims in the neck pocket and the heel pocket to change the angle of your neck in micro fractions of degrees to set up to tailor, no pun intended, your action to your playing ability or to what you feel is right. So, and we still use that today. That's our modern Taylor neck. The action control neck is a little bit different.
What's the action control neck? Sorry, it's in the script, man.
Once
You wrote
again,
it.
thanks again for asking, Jay. Glad you did. So, for those of you that know about guitar construction, usually, traditional guitar construction with acoustic guitars and even Les Pauls and things like that, it's a mortise and tenon neck. There's actually a groove, and the neck kind of slides into place and helps lock it in place, if you will. And that's more of a traditional way of building. The action control neck is a long tenon neck. So it slides into place, but it still bolts in place, much like our current Taylor neck. Difference is there are no shims. So what does that mean for you, the player?
No shims?
No shims.
It's shimless?
It is shimless. We are bereft of shims in the gold label guitars. We owe shims, if you will. But what does that mean for the end user?
Wow.
It technically means that you could do your own neck adjustments on the fly.
No. Wait. What?
You could change your own action by turning one bolt that's in the guitar and adjusting your action as you need it on the fly.
So I have to take off the neck still, right?
Nope.
Yeah. No.
What are you talking about?
It's
Do I
a
have to
three-step
loosen the
process.
strings?
It's a three-step process, and it's a very easy process.
Whoa.
Step
Time
one.
out.
Oh,
Time out. I don't
Yeah, I'm
believe you,
telling you.
but I
I don't believe
heard
you.
that you interviewed Rob McGargle.
this is true. I forgot that I did this, and I forgot you had this.
So if you interviewed Rob McGargle about there's 3 steps, what are these 3 steps? Why don't we ask Rob McGargle?
It's gimme 3 steps, mister. Give me 3 steps
Okay.
towards the door.
That is bananas, Dar. I agree with you. Maybe we should show a video right now.
That
This
might
is how
help.
much fun we have on Primetime. I
Oh,
got this
yes.
thing queued up. You want to listen? You want to watch it? All right. I
Yes.
think we might
Absolutely.
be back
Do it.
in this video is 1 minute and 37 seconds of action control adjustment steps.
So now we know how the action control neck matches up with the guitar, how it's constructed. Let's talk about the action controlling aspect of this neck.
Sure.
Now, there's an order of operations that goes along with this.
Yes, it's very important.
What would be that order of operations?
Well, I call it the big 3. The first one is tune it to pitch. Now, at Taylor Guitars, we tune to A440, which is standard pitch. You'll see that on your digital tuner. However, if you tune a half a step down, let's say you tune open tuning, maybe you tune DADGAD. Make sure the guitar is tuned to however you play. Secondly, number 2, you want to make sure that your truss rod is adjusted properly.
Now, that's something we call neck relief.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
And that would be either a concave or convex curve
Yes,
to when you're looking down the fingerboard, as they say.
absolutely.
So how important is that in this order of operations?
Well, it's one of the most important, actually, because without it, you can be really mixed up on what you're doing action-wise. You could have a poorly adjusted neck, and things can be too high or too low when really it was just a poor truss rod adjustment.
Great. And then the third, you said there's a big 3.
There's the big 3.
Now, what's the third of the big 3?
Well, once you have the first and second done, now you go into the guitar and you can adjust the action of the instrument.
Now, when we say action, we're talking about the relative height of the strings to the fingerboard. Would that be correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That is the last phase of the system.
And therefore, action control.
Absolutely.
Wow, Mike,
Dang.
I asked the right questions.
you asked the right questions. But what I didn't see is actually how to do all of that. I have another video that's 4 minutes and 43 seconds long that shows how to do all of it. Do you think we should take 5-ish minutes here and walk them through that?
Ooh, bathroom break.
You could do a bathroom. All 3 of us could go eat
could do
some
it.
sushi and
Mike,
come
what do you
back in
think?
5 minutes.
I'm down with that.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break that down and show you how the action control neck is adjusted. All right, here we go. We'll see you in 4 minutes and 43 seconds.
Okay, so now we know what the 3 steps are, the big 3s you described. So let's break them down. We'll go step by step through this entire process. Now, number 1 was tune the guitar. Now, we all know we need to tune our instruments.
Yes.
This should be known, but let's go through that process anyway. How do you go in tuning a guitar?
Well, for me here at Taylor Guitars, I'm old school. I'm using a tuning fork. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit my tuning fork on the bench. I'm going to set it on the bridge. You hear the tone, and I'm going to match my high E to that tone. And then from that point, I'm going to tune it by ear. If I was going on stage, if I was doing something professionally, then of course I would use a digital tuner. Now, what's key here is you have to tune the guitar to how you play. We're at concert pitch A440. Digital tuner will show you that. But if you tune down a half a step, it's going to be important that that's where you have it. If you tune open tunings, it's important to have it there because our next step really they combo. It's important.
Yeah, if you're not tuning to standard tuning, you're putting different tension on the neck with those
Yes.
particular tunings, which is going to play into the amount of neck relief,
Yes.
which is the next step in this equation. So adjusting neck relief is utilizing the truss rod that's built into the neck
Yes.
and helping to either straighten out or add curvature to the fingerboard.
Absolutely.
So how do we go about checking that?
Well, it's really simple. If you have a capo, just grab a capo, put it at the first fret. That just eliminates having to hold anything. Okay? The next step, come up to the body joint and press the low E down. Okay, so simple. Now, come up around the 7th, 8th fret and just a little tap. This tap is so light, it's lighter than clicking a mouse. That's how light this is. Okay? And what I want to hear is just that slight metal on metal. That's what I'm listening for.
Now, that would be considered optimal.
That would be considered almost dead straight.
How do you know when it's not optimal? What are the indicators that shows that, well, the neck has a bit too much curve or the fingerboard is maybe a little bit curved the opposite direction?
Absolutely. Okay, so let's think of it backbowed, okay, or the opposite curve. When you put the capo here and you go up at the body joint, there will be no sound. Okay, so you're basically high centered. So there is no sound. So you would want to back off the truss rod slightly, okay, until you're hearing that tick. And that would give you that nice straight neck.
Now, what if it's the opposite? What if there's too much relief in the neck? What if it's too curved?
Okay, so the setup is the same, the capo and the body joint. If you're having to press down, I mean, remember we talked about less than the click of a mouse. If you're having to push that down to feel it, you basically have too much relief in that neck. The string is showing you that straight line.
And we mentioned earlier that a little goes a long way with
little
these
goes a long
adjustments.
way.
So don't be violently turning your truss rod wrench in either direction.
Absolutely.
Quarter turn would
Quarter
be
turn it either way and just check it as you go. Every time you tune it, double check it.
Great. Now, the third part.
Third part.
Setting the string action. We've
Yes.
tuned the guitar. We've tweaked the neck a little bit. How do we set the string action?
Well, it's pretty simple. Make sure you remove your capo. Okay, let's make sure that's out of the way. Inside the gold label guitar, there is a 1/4 inch nut down at the bottom. You can see it inside. We use an adjustable 1/4 inch nut driver here, and that can fit inside the guitar, or you can just simply use your truss rod wrench.
Now, if we're using the truss rod wrench, we would need to loosen the strings.
You would need to loosen the string so you could get your hand in there. However, with the adjustable, we can open up the string, we can get into the nut, and then adjust our action. By turning it to the right, you're going to lower the string action because the neck angle is coming up. Okay, it's very simple. If you need to raise the string action, you would tune it to the left, turn it here, and that's going to drop the neck angle slightly, which will raise your action. Now, action is dependent on you. You may want something a little different than me or how you play. And that's what's great about this. It's back into your hands.
And just as we were saying with the tuning thing, if you're playing a set
Yes.
and you have different tunings within your set, you could change the action of the guitar in the middle of your set
Oh, absolutely.
just by changing your tuning, changing the truss rod, and then setting the string action.
Absolutely.
I love this so much. But before we get into how an artist would use this, I'm going to answer a question that Tex put up here. How does this compare to the new FERC auto adjustment based on humidity? Actually, we love them. Here's why. They're going in the same direction we are. And if you were to ask Andy Powers why he wanted to do this, he's been working on this for a very, very long time. It's because, and it was an interesting conversation that we had. He told a really cool story about when he was a young kid. He had like a mechanic. You know, there was a neighbor in town across the street from his house that was a mechanic, and he was driving with that neighbor this one time, and you know, he was talking about when your car is just fresh out of the mechanic. Right? So you have an older car, you take it to the mechanic and you get it fixed. It's perfect right when it comes out of the mechanic. So in guitar terms, right when you get it back from the guitar tech, or when you buy a guitar from one of Mike's dealers, for example, that guitar is premium. It is set up perfectly, right? Because we set guitars up perfectly. Then we send them air freight or by boat, climate, right? Humidity adjustments, humidity changes, things get all wacky. That dealer, Mike's got great dealers, right? Let's say Empire Music in Pittsburgh. Jordan's from Pittsburgh. Empire Music's tech looks at all those guitars and sets them up again so that when you buy it, it's a primal experience, right? So Andy's telling the story about driving down the highway, and the guy says, look at all these cars out here. About 90% of those cars need a little bit of work. They're not perfect. They need a little bit of service or a little bit of maintenance. So now he brings that back to guitars. And I would say 90% is low about guitars that are just in the world that need a little bit of work, right? And a person like me, I, guitar teched a lot, touring guitar tech for a long time. I work on guitars, so I will feel a guitar. There's a funny story I have where a friend of mine bought one of those little Squier Fender 2/3 guitars for their kid for like a pack. Came with an amp and a cable and yada yada for Christmas. And they said, check this guitar out. I got it for my kid. And I looked at it and I was like, oh man, if I only had some tools, I would fix this and make it easier to play. So to the FERC question, they want better playing guitars, and we love that. And there is room for everybody to do that, and everybody should do that. From the beginning of Taylor, Bob wanted to win at one thing, and that was the playability of an instrument. And this is just the next chapter in the journey for us to get closer to that it's that pursuit of playability, and we absolutely love it. So that's answering that question. There are differences. Andy's, both are patented in different ways, and they do different things. And, when if anybody has ever gotten a patent, you have to disclose other information of other people who are doing something similar. So I'm sure that's in the patent somewhere, right? Andy's been working on this for a very long time, and when they launched that, we were actually stoked. We were no competition here. We're like, yeah. They're trying to find better playing guitars. They're trying to make better playing guitars. So the why on why Andy did this is just that. I'd say it's higher than 90% of guitars out in the world need a little bit of work to make them awesome. Does that make sense? To answer that question, we are stoked on FERC making a neck that moves. Ours is a little bit different. But now I want to ask Danny. Danny I explained this to Danny, action control neck, and he says, what? And I said, yeah, you never have to do a neck reset. You can just change it. You can just adjust it on the fly from climate to climate to climate, because that will make a guitar shift. Danny, how useful is the action control neck for a touring guitarist?
So I've been trying to explain it to my guitar tech since you told me. I remember the day that you told me. I had an off day in San Francisco, and I saw him just as like we were both. He was like leaving the bus. I was going to the bus to pick something up to take back to the hotel, and I stopped and we had like a 10-minute conversation. I'm trying to explain it to him, based off the very brief description and my memory issues after years of abusing my brain. I was trying to explain to him, and he couldn't wrap his head around it. And we just did our first show of the year. So it was his first time being able to get his hands on it. And he came to the dressing room and was like, I don't want you to ever bring a different acoustic guitar. I don't want anyone to ever bring me a different acoustic guitar on the road than this. So I can speak to a guitar tech's opinion of, absolutely loved it and doesn't want to see any other acoustic guitar cross his path since experiencing this.
So,
just as far as touring in general, as you said, even with you guys shipping the guitars, it's those small changes from flying or even driving, or whether you've got to take a boat somewhere, whatever it may be, that the climate and environment changes can do a massive amount of work on an acoustic guitar, especially, but any guitar in general. And now you imagine that it's every single day for 2 months. It it really adds up, and it's every single day you're having to work, and there's just kind of a little bit more added every day. By the end of the tour, you've got a guitar that's, I mean,
Virtually
barely
unplayable.
recognizable from the one you left with. And
Yeah.
this, being able to have this kind of control and create the adaptability of it is, it's really, there isn't a good argument for taking anything else on tour, because anything else is going to just gather and collect problems.
Yeah, that pursuit of having a perfectly playable guitar at your fingertips, right? And something that's that adjustable, that quick, it's remarkable. And when
And
you
you-
do it for the first time and you realize it literally, Mike, I mean, we made that video a little dramatic. I have a video of Andy doing it on, I just shot it with my iPhone. He literally did it in 45 seconds.
Yeah, it's nuts.
I know
It's
you've
nuts how
told me
easy it is.
100 times that you didn't want to make the headline about that.
Yeah.
But it's been hard for me, and especially with, my circle of touring musicians, it's
Right.
hard to not make it the headline because it's the most game-changing thing for us.
Yeah. Yeah. But it gets a wonderful sounding guitar. And so
Yes, absolutely phenomenal.
for
I,
us, you guys are actually getting the most of this information for the first time right now, but we're doing the deepest dive here.
Yeah, tonally, the same with cameras, the same with cars, the same with, everything in my life. I'm not a hoarder. I'm not a collector. I'm the worst guitarist on earth for that. Where I don't just collect stuff. I'm kind of perpetually in the search for just the right one.
Yeah.
And I said it the other day when we were talking to the magazine, where it's like, this is the first guitar I've had where beyond just liking it, it's like, this feels just right. It's not like, I really like this and I can use this, and I love how it plays and how it sounds. There's a soul and a personality and a character to it that you don't really find in new things.
What was your first reaction? What was your first reaction?
You were
to it?
there. You were there. I picked it up and I did the same thing that I do with any guitar that I touch. And I feel like if there are any guitarists watching, I say to a guitar podcast, we all have the same thing, and they're different ones, but we all have something we play on every single guitar we pick up as our barometer gauge for how does this play compared to everything else. And I have two. There's the
Yeah.
and then there's. I didn't get through either of them before. In front of you, I just started writing a song.
That is true. That is exactly
I started playing, I was like,
what happened.
It feel for a guitar I just picked up for the first time. It felt like a guitar I have lived my entire life with, and I was just like comfortable in a way, not of like just you're comfortable with an instrument. It's like you're comfortable with that instrument.
I believe you actually pulled your phone out and started recording a voice
did.
memo, and you're like, I got to get that down. Hold on,
Yeah.
hold on.
That song has been finished now.
That's
It's
incredible.
finished. I recorded it a couple days ago.
That's incredible. Jordan, you had a same kind of visceral reaction. I mean, you're always on the search for a playable guitar. You like to collect.
Yep.
You like to have, you're not just a one brand guy. Again, you have a Martin. I think you had a Guild at one point that wasn't it, and you didn't keep that guitar because it just wasn't playable. Did you have a Gibson J45 maybe? I can't remember the whole story, but you ended up with a Martin D28 that is one of the best feeling Martin D28s I've ever put in my hands. That guitar is just remarkable. So now you go from that journey to, it's always like you find a guitar that sounds good, we love it. Does it play good? Does it play well? So back to Andy's journey about driving, right? 90% of these cars need a little bit of work to make them perfect. His whole thing is, if you got a lot of people who start playing guitar and then the guitar doesn't feel good. they quit.
Yep.
A lot of it is
Yep.
how a guitar, it's hard to play. And so part of that for Andy was, I want to make it easier to adjust so it's easier to play. How was that reaction when you picked it up for the first time? I think I was close to maybe one of the first times you picked it up, and you were just like,
Yeah. Yeah, you were in the room. Yeah. It was funny because, my journey was, a few, or maybe last year, whenever we saw this first, I was on a journey of like, I want to find a really great guitar. And I wanted to I wanted to play well. I wanted to feel good in my lap. I wanted to, everything you want it to be, right? So there were definitely things where I would find something and I'd like it, but it wasn't the right, fit.
yeah.
And I don't consider myself a Martin guy like you do, like you said earlier. But I landed on a beautiful Martin. Everything about it was great. I will say though, the journey that I was having back then, I wish I had 5 months later, because
Right.
they would have all been answered. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. This guitar was the first thing I think of. And Danny, you're totally right. I have just one chord, and sometimes I'll flick the low E, and I can tell right away if it's something that I'm gonna be interested in. But I'll either strum a D or I'll strum an E, and just I'll be like, okay, this is cool. Let me dive in further. The first thing I remembered about this gold label guitar was how responsive it was. Just how quick the response was, just from strumming, or finger picking. It could do it all. And that was something where I'm just like, it blew me away. It was not like anything I've ever experienced, because it's a Super Auditorium. That's the shape. That's what it's called. But it doesn't feel much bigger.
Right.
Like Jay said, I had, it was a Guild. I think it was like the Jumbo. Maybe
Yeah.
I don't know what the title was, F55 or something like that. But cool guitar. But this thing was like, I was carrying around like Johnny Cash here, and with a Super Auditorium, it doesn't feel like it's a huge bodied guitar.
No.
Sounds big though. It sounds big. So it's kind of like this
loud.
gold. It's loud. Sounds big. Does not feel like it's a big body. So all those things impressed me. It was kind of like this Goldilocks. And then on top of it was, I didn't know about the action control neck. I didn't know about any of this adjustability aspect to it. But to have that feature, like I think it was Rob or what Mike was saying in the video, people play different styles.
Yeah,
You can have someone as talented as Danny going from bluegrass to fingerstyle jazz to different types of music, where you want a super low action for that fast jazz playing guitar,
Sure.
or you want super high action for a flat picking bluegrass style. And it's cool to know that if we're giving the player an opportunity to adjust action without having to take it into a tech, just doing it on the fly, you're opening up a nice plethora of music that people can play. And then
Now-
on top of that, oh yeah, go ahead, Mike.
One thing you said, not have to bring it into a tech. We're not saying that you shouldn't bring
No.
to a
I
tech.
was going to say. That's why I wanted. What I was going to say was, when Andy talked about this, a lot of the questions, as sometimes it comes up a lot with AI or people taking machines taking jobs away from humans. A lot of the questions that Andy got when he was pitching this and showing this around was, well, what about techs? Doesn't that just take their jobs? No, not at all. They are still having to do everything else. They still need frets. I was talking to Rob. They still need the frets changed. They still need to condition the fretboard and all that stuff you'd want to take into a tech. But the action and actually removing the neck for a lot of these older guitars, or guitars that use this dovetail neck joint, techs don't like doing it, which is what I've heard
Wow.
from Rob and everyone else. They're like, there is no guarantee when you take your guitar that has a dovetail neck joint to a tech, they cannot guarantee you it's going to be done right. They can have all the experience in the world, but until they pull that neck apart, they have no idea if it's going to be correct or not, because they don't know what's under there.
Yeah.
And that's really cool to know that you'll never have to deal with that again with this guitar. I think that's really cool.
It's pretty cool. I mean, Bob did that with the NT neck and then Taylor neck. We kind of dropped the NT part of it, right? Like the idea was consistency and adjustability, right? All four of us play on this on screen right now play guitar totally different. But if you have one A14 CE, for example, with an NT neck, you can adjust that neck for each of our playing style, right? Very similar with Gold Label, right? The idea is to be able to do it quickly. And John Lord made a really good point. He said in the feed over here, he said, not all of us live within driving distance of a tech.
Yep.
So there's that. So going back to the videos that we showed, 3 steps. Tune to pitch, adjust your relief, right? Truss rod, right? Rob showed you how to do that. Get in there and micro adjustments. It's not, don't crank it 15, one full rotation. It's just a micro adjustment, and you'd actually see the strings raise and lower. It's very simple. There was another question in the feed. Mark Reams had this. Is there anything in the neck joint that will wear out with frequent adjustment? Nope.
I was gonna ask Mike. Well, I was gonna ask Mike this because when I asked Andy that exact question, the Andy answer was nope.
No.
And nothing else. And I was like, cool, trust you.
Now,
But
mind you,
do you know
are
why?
there any
there's-
absolutes in life, though?
Right.
No. There are no absolutes in life, right? And not in guitar. So if you get in there and you're like,
Death and
you
taxes.
keep twisting it, and well, that's true. But you can cheat both of those in one way or another.
Someone hasn't heard of tax vision. We're about to change your life, Jay. It's gonna go good or bad.
But yeah, I mean, if you get in there and you just start, violently tweaking, the nut on the inside of the guitar, I mean, maybe you could wear it out, but that's user error or user stupidity. At that point, that's not because it's intrinsically going to fail at some point. It's because you caused it to happen. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of foolproof in a lot of ways. But again, that doesn't mean you shouldn't go visit your tech and have them do it because they're your friends. Somebody mentioned that in the feed. Your techs are your friends. You want them to be your friends.
Absolutely.
And that way, because you have other guitars besides the Gold Label that you need to have fixed. So be a friend to your tech by bringing the tech your guitar. Have them tweak it. Have them look it over because there may be something else going on with the guitar that might need to be tweaked. It might just need new strings or whatever else. Doesn't hurt to have it looked over. But if you do need to do it yourself, you can do it yourself. And that is the great part about it, is that you have the ability to do so.
Yeah, and I'll say this before we move on because I know Jay, we have things that are clips that will address the tone of this guitar. But the least important aspect to me from any guitar is the aesthetics. I love just a plain old guitar. It doesn't even have to have inlays in it. Like it could just be so plain it's
Same.
borderline boring.
Yeah.
But this thing is so understated, but beautiful at the same time. Danny, I don't know if you've noticed because it took me dozens of times before I actually noticed the sound hole binding, the revealed rosewood on the edge of the binding there. It's it's not blingy by any means, but it's so the attention to detail.
Super tasteful.
Like Mike was saying. Yeah, super tasteful. Like the craftsmanship is just, second to none. So super cool.
Yeah, it's great. And it's got Honduran, that one particular
That's
one.
gorgeous.
We'll get into the models now, but that particular one that Danny's holding is a natural top with Honduran rosewood back and sides. Mike, why did Andy choose Honduran rosewood for back and sides?
It just really loves the sound of it. It gives nothing wrong with East Indian rosewood at all, but it has a creamier, richer, warmer sort of aspect to it. It's hard to get. We happen to have a quantity of it, which is nice. And while we have it, we want to use it. But it gives a different flavor than what East Indian rosewood does. All rosewood is going to have a typical tonal curve, right? It's going to have higher lows, higher highs, and the mids kind of get scooped out. Honduran is no different, but it does it in a different way, and it gives it more of an older, warmer tone, more of that traditional tone from years ago. I'm not going to say akin to Brazilian. It's not, but it's similar in the sense that it has that classic warmth that goes along with it. And then pairing that with a torrefied spruce top, again, furthering that warmth, that roundness that Honduran provides.
Let's play a little a demo. This is a studio recorded demo of Andy Powers playing the Gold Label 814E Rosewood guitar. This one actually has a sunburst on the top of it. We will be back in 1 minute and 27 seconds. That guitar sounds so good.
So good, Mike. I have a question because you were just talking about the tone wood, and I know you touched on the new longer tenon, like long tenon. Why are the highs so much more chimey and overtony? Is it a combination of both, or what would you attribute that to? Because when he was playing that, it seemed so hi-fi, but then you also had that bass response in the lower end too.
The long tenon neck provides more wood on wood direct contact. And in theory, that's going to provide better resonance overall because the guitar is vibrating the wood in a very different way. So you're having more contact points, longer contact points, providing for more thorough, what's the word I'm looking for? The sound is more fully realized because of the extra resonance. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Which kind of brings that. So one of the things you'll notice in that guitar, and when you're across the mic, when you're behind the mic, right? So I've had a lot of experience being in the control room when we're recording these things. And Danny, I'll ask you how you feel with this, about this. But there's a remarkable amount of low end in the guitar. You could hear it. You could hear it right there, right? But it's not in the way. So a lot of times you hear us talk about woofiness. So when Gabe is on the show, we talk about how a lot of big boxier guitars like that are woofy. There's a lot of poof of air that's coming out, and the first thing you do is you EQ that low end right out, right? It's just to kind of get some clarity and some definition in there, and then you're looking for those highs to be nice and balanced with that low end. This guitar, you barely have to EQ it. I haven't EQ'd it yet. Maybe add a little compression or something like that. Danny, how is it record for you when, you recorded Ain't No Use on it. How was that experience for you?
So, obviously we filmed a bunch of stuff and I played it in room and in barn a lot. But my first time playing it into a microphone was recording that song. I think I did like 3 passes. I have, over the years, while simultaneously being a Taylor player, I have an affinity and massive amount of love and passion for old things and very old sounding guitars. So I think it's dictated how my playing style has evolved to kind of get those tones, as well as different things in terms of gear and microphones and preamps and EQs and compressors and all this stuff to try and get the very new sounding guitars to sound old. And similarly to what you said, I just put a microphone in front of this. This is going into a preamp with absolutely no EQ on it.
Yeah.
And no compressor. It's like that me playing in here it's a Soyuz 013 going into a 1073 with no EQ on it. And from there, I mean, I pull a little bit out of the bottom because I'm putting so much other stuff into mixes. But other than that, I'm not really doing much.
Yeah, there's not a lot of EQ that you have to do that with that guitar. That's really interesting.
It's,
so the
it's
other,
really, really easy.
yeah, I would agree. It's just remarkable. So the other model, we do have a Koa version. Mike, talk to us about the Koa version.
The Koa version is made using Koa.
All right. You guys want to hear a demo? Here's a demo, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in 1 minute and 25 seconds. Andy Powers playing a natural top gold label A14E Koa.
Now, I'm sure that you heard the difference.
Oh yeah.
I definitely heard the difference. It's
Yep.
definitely more mid-range because of
Yep.
Koa's natural
Koa.
predilection towards a pushed mid-range.
I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. Can I say it? I want to
Go
say
ahead.
it. Let me
Say it.
say it. You guys know that, well, apparently Jordan would like everybody to know I'm more of a Martin guy. However,
He said it himself. You all heard it.
I have said this multiple times on this show, and I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it again. I am not the biggest fan of Koa. I have never been the biggest fan of Koa. I think the Koa GS Mini is the most remarkable little guitar, and I think that's the Koa guitar that's just fantastic. I think the K21, the GT Koa guitar, was absolutely phenomenal. I think when Andy, but still not my most favorite. It's just not my most favorite. They're just not, right?
Oh yeah.
Danny,
Look at that.
Danny's got one of those. Then Andy came out with a 700
GS
series.
Mini's
up there.
downstairs. I'd do that one too.
Andy redid the 700 series and added Koa, and those Koas are just open, and they're great, and they're getting a little bit better, and this is the best Koa guitar I've ever played, I've ever heard, and
Yep.
I will ever hear. Maybe you'll have another one. That's
I'm-
great, but
I'm
my
gonna
goodness, it's great.
I'm gonna second your note on Koa there, and I'm also gonna take the opportunity to backtrack something I said last time I was here, because I think I harped on about my love for Koa. The first Koa guitar I had ever was that GS Mini Koa Plus, and even compared to all of the other GS Mini Koa Pluses I've played, that one is defective in the best way possible because it sounds like none of the others. And it was the depth and warmth to it that I love, that I've learned is just in that guitar there. And actually, I'm right there with you. Not a Koa fan. It turns out, it just so happens that the favorite guitar I've had is one, but doesn't sound like it is.
Yeah, and that's just how I've been. So the first time I heard the Koa Go label, I was floored.
Yeah.
And it's like, boy, oh boy, two guitars, need them. Those two guitars could be the two guitars you ever needed. I mean,
It is a lot. It feels a lot brighter and lighter tonally to play, which I mean, each person can kind of take as to their own taste. if you like a brighter, lighter, thinner, which I do not mean in a negative way, but thinner sound for whatever music it is that you're making, you'll love it.
So, Danny, got a couple more questions. When can you describe the moment when you knew this guitar was something special?
Yeah, about 3 chords after playing it. No, I'll be honest. It was before I ever played it, because you made a point of not only calling me multiple times about it, but explaining this guitar to me in such a depth, in which I think
God, I'm a nerd.
you knew how much I was going to love it, and you were trying to like pre-warn me or just let me know how amazing it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure you're aware. People try and sell me on stuff all the time, and I think you were trying to like reassure me, like, no, it is really that good. And I was like, if you're telling, I believed you the first time, but like,
I mean,
the amount you really drilled it home, I was like, okay, this is gonna be. It's either going to be really good or we're not trusting Jay anymore.
Have you ever had, or you obviously you're sitting in your studio, right? You got
Yes.
players that come over there all the time. Have you had some non-Taylor players
Yes.
play it, and what is their reaction?
I texted you about it the other day. All the time. In my head, I was about to say, I'm not gonna name names in case they have loyalties with other companies, but I don't care. We had about 1,000 horses over here yesterday. They brought over their Martins, Martins, and they sat down, and obviously they walk into a room full of Taylors, and it's not they turn their nose up at it, but they're Martin guys. They want something else tonally. Totally get it. And like everyone that comes in has just never seen that before. And like, what's that one? It's like starting to explain to them, and they pick it up, and then there are people over in the studio every single day, and every single time I explain the guitar to them. Like we don't go like super in depth like we are here, obviously, but I was like, oh yeah, it's new. Like I'm doing the record with it. It's a very different voicing than all the Taylors that you've ever played. And they sit down and play it, and every single time so far, they've not picked their guitars up again, and they've sat and held that the whole time. So,
cool.
I mean, I texted you the other day. I was like, you're converting everyone in this town.
So
You might honestly want to slow down because you're going to run out of them.
I know we're already back ordered. Tex
Yeah,
was telling us how back ordered are they? They're probably pretty back ordered at this point. Mike might be able to. It's NAMM. We launch these things, and we wait and we kind of see how everybody's doing. I was in a studio the other day with I'm not going to name names either, but a guy who's in a band. You may have heard him. It rhymes with squirrel spam. Pearl Jam, that's it.
Oh.
So I'm in the studio with a guy who's in
The
this band,
closest rhyme I've ever.
and he
Just let Jay go. Just let him go. Let him have his fun. I mean,
had a guild, and he had a Martin, and he played the gold label. And that's just what is happening with these instruments, so it's really interesting. And Taylor people, hardcore Taylor people, the people who are like, when it comes to the alternate side of that Ford Chevy argument, Martin Taylor, the people who are like, Taylor, only Taylor, they pick it up. You are a Taylor guy. So as a Taylor guy, you think we did a good job, Danny?
I think you knocked it out of the park. I mean, like I said, I've been a Taylor guy, but in kind of a non-traditional sense, in that I kind of tweak stuff, especially with microphone choice and strings, and a lot thicker picks than most people play with, to get those older tones to kind of come forward. And it's like you made it for me, where I also think as a counterpoint for anyone listening, being like, I don't want an old sounding guitar. I think you put like real snappy, bright strings on this, and it will, not to take away from your other sales, but it can sit where the Builder's Edition does and have those shiny modern tones. I think you put some flat tops on it and all your jazz stuff's covered. I think really, you're right. It can, between this and its Koa counterpart, you could cover everything. other than like we were talking about the magazine. Like, who would you recommend this to? I was like, probably not someone just starting out. It's a hell of an investment for a beginner. But past that, yeah, it can cover every base for you.
Yeah, it is. They are remarkable
Yeah, absolutely
instruments.
outstanding. Like every day, every single it's annoying, and this is only a mild hint. I've got, obviously it sits up here in the studio, and then I have my T5Z and my GS Mini, and I forget what else is down there right now, but kind of just spread around the house. So wherever I am, like if an idea comes or I'm bored, I pick up a guitar and I can play it. And with the exception of the GS Mini that lives in my office, no matter which other one I pick up, I keep getting bummed out. I'm like, I don't want to walk upstairs, but I just want to play this. So I just need a couple more.
I know. We'll work on that. It's brilliant. They are brilliant.
One for every
guitars.
room, and I'm.
They are absolutely brilliant guitars.
Yeah.
I would like to do something real quick. You know how this show goes. We usually have 2 minutes of sports. Here we're going to talk 2 minutes of sports real quick.
Okay.
The Chiefs
Was there anything
lost
big
the
happen in
Super Bowl.
sports recently?
Yeah,
No.
the Chiefs lost. Baseball is back almost. I'm really
Yes.
excited about that. My
Next
Premier
week,
League
pitchers
team
and catchers,
is,
right?
My Premier League team is doing terrible, but that's fine. And the big winners or losers in the Super Bowl were Drake and
I knew you were gonna
Drake
say
and
it.
Pat Mahomes, as we know. So that's 2 minutes of sports, and then the next
Whoa,
one.
whoa! We breezed over the person who had the second worst time on the Super Bowl after Drake, which was Taylor Swift, who got practically booed out of the stadium.
Totally, man. That was like
She
the first
didn't
time.
have a blast either.
She
That was
didn't
like
have
the
a
first
bye.
time in years she's been booed. She was so
know.
confused. That was crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy. Well, she got booed, but we love her, so
We love her.
she's booing her way all the way to her next album, which I'm
Yep.
excited about. So I wanted to do something just a little bit different. As you know, I started this show. Wow, we've done 111 things. I didn't realize that, Mike. I started this show back in the pandemic with a buddy of mine. You guys know him as Chris Sharp. He's been in the feed the entire time tonight. And I thought it'd be a really cool idea to bring him in. Hi, Chris.
Hey,
He's a Sharpie.
And I want to
Hey,
tell
man.
he's muted too.
He's a
muted. You gotta turn your mic on.
muted.
Yeah, he's muted. You got to unmute.
He doesn't know how to unmute. He's been gone long enough to where the functions are just done.
Oh, it won't let you. Got to
All right,
choose
we're
a
charades
microphone.
in the whole conversation.
He's coming back. Devices disconnected.
Oh dang.
Well, anyway,
Real
here's why I
smooth
wanted
segment, Jay.
Sharpie.
Real smooth segment.
Here's why I wanted Sharpie. in
Knocked
here.
that out of the park.
Swing and a miss.
Sharpie is actually the reason why we work with Danny. Let's
Yeah.
see. Does it work? Are you alive?
Yeah, I do this
There he is.
with my normal job now, and it's like every time I start a meeting, it's on mute. I start talking, people are like, "You're doing it again." It's not my strong suit. So
So I was saying, as you oddly left, Sharpie is the reason we have a relationship with Danny.
Yeah.
And so Sharp hit me up earlier and said, I'm going to kick back and watch the show tonight, watch you guys hang with Danny. And I really wanted to give a nod to him, bring him back on here. Dude, how you doing, man?
good, man. Long time no see.
Long time no see. That's a lie. We saw each other at a show a couple of days ago, weeks ago. When was that? Anyway.
It's Saturday. Yeah,
Yeah,
these weeks
yeah.
are long. Huh?
Yeah, those weeks are long. Anyway, so Danny, we used to do a thing called Sharpie's question, where
Okay.
Sharpie asks you a random question, or whomever our guest is. So I would like it, Sharpie. If I don't care if you even have anything prepared, make something up. Sharpie, please ask Danny a question.
For sure. Absolutely. Good to see you, Danny, man. I
So good to see you.
missed when you were in town, and sorry I missed you. I wrote 7 questions in 15 minutes when
Okay.
Jay, what's up? But I got one for you. So for the people that are in the feed that have been sleeping under a rock and don't know about you yet, I start my days in the morning driving to work, listening to Asking Alexandria. And when I leave, I'm listening to your solo stuff. Love what you do. But for them, what's a song from your catalog that holds the deepest meaning to you? And then also, if someone's never heard of you, what song should they start first?
Oh God. As far as start first, I think to go. I don't think it's necessarily a representation of my body of works entirely, but it would be impossible to pick one that does. I think just a really special song is Tomorrow, and it's such a heartbreaking song that I think just it came out so perfectly. So I would definitely recommend that as one of the many. We could sit here for hours, and I could give reasons for mostly all of them. But I'd say that one first. And as far as something with a really deep meaning,
You
I think-
stumped him. This is so.
I
good.
think that there's definitely a big argument for Alone in a Room, which was Asking Alexandria, or Moving On. But I think really the song I've ever written. Now this is gonna take a turn for people in the audience. The first song I wrote that was like just very, very much like this is a personal song that I'm releasing it, but it isn't for the world. It was a song called Angels, and it's still one of my favorite songs I've ever written and ever released. And I wrote it leading up to proposing to my ex-wife. So there's a kind of a negative place in my brain for it now, but it's still such a special song, and I've been trying to think up a way to give it a new life and a new existence. But I know that's also one more than most that I hear back from people where it's like it's something they've used in their life, which is always super beautiful. I have a question for you as well that also came into my head. So we've got Danny's question. This is something that I've been curious about for years. I remember the first time we ever spoke, I was on an airplane. I do not remember where I was flying, but I was doing my first solo shows where I was just doing fly dates, and it was every weekend. And I'd bought GS Mini to go do it, and you'd seen me posting about it, and you messaged me. And that's where our relationship started. And over those coming months, I remember at one point we were talking, and I was like, is there any way you could make me this? And I described what became the GS Mini Core Plus. Was that already in development, or did I plant a seed? Or did it have nothing to do with it? It was just a coincidence. I've always wondered because I remember you were like, I mean, I can ask, but I don't think we can do that. Well, you
know why?
do that. And it was a couple months later. There was something said.
Oh, Jay?
Yeah, so we made a Koa version. It was when the GS Minis had an ES2 in them. And I know there were some spitballs like maybe we should make a higher end GS Mini. Mm-hmm. We were in a couple of meetings, and so there were those things. I would say not 100%. I'm answering for Chris because I remember those moments. Chris came to me and he's like, "Do you think we could make this for Danny?" And I was like, I mean, I don't see why it's hard. I mean,
we could, yeah.
good. I don't see why not. Like, are we going to? Maybe. I don't know. And I want to say we've had Aaron Dablo on the show quite a bit. And we went to Dablo and asked him, and he goes, "Come on, man," with his Louisiana accent. He was like, "Come on, man, we're already making something like that." And we didn't know about it.
Okay.
And I think it was, or it was, this was years ago, man. This was like 8 years ago.
This was like 2018.
Okay.
Or 20,
Not 8
maybe
years
20
ago, but
Yeah, maybe 2017 at the most.
I think there was a bunch of inspiration by artists saying we would like the ES2 in a GS Mini again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Damon Albarn plays. That's what, it's a remarkable pickup for that guitar. Period. I would never argue that. I think the ES2 in a GS Mini, even though we don't make them anymore. We do. Do we make a GS Mini Rosewood Plus, Mike?
Rosewood Plus.
Yeah, Rosewood Plus. Yeah,
Rosewood Plus,
And a
which is
Koa
all
Plus.
gloss,
And the
and a
Koa
Koa
Plus is
Plus.
still-
yeah.
Yep.
We still make them.
Well, I'm confused.
And those cases, the cases that come with it are just worth it alone.
Yeah, the Aero cases are fantastic.
Incredible.
Anyway, yes, I would say, Danny, that was a long way of saying I think you helped inspire that
apart.
with a bunch of other artists.
The timing in my head, I was like, that feels like maybe I sparked something, but it also could be
You
just like the
sparked a
perfect
lot,
timing.
man. Yeah.
I remember immediately after he got off the phone with you, or
Yeah.
he was chatting. You guys did all of this on
Instagram.
DM, I think,
Yeah.
like
I
Instagram.
DM'd him from, I think, my personal Instagram. I was like, hey, man, it's Chris over at Taylor. And then from all of that, so much sparked where, like,
Yeah.
Nick from Sleeping with Sirens, you're like, talk to this guy. I'm like, oh, he played my high school,
Yeah.
in his old band Undermined and stuff like that. So it sparked like that whole scene. Kind of started with Danny when we started pushing into the harder rock and everything like that, which was cool.
Oddly enough, I ordered Nick a gold label today.
Well,
Heck yeah, man.
Hey, listen, as cool as it was to, put that up on the Sleeping with Sirens stage, it's not going there now. That's going up on a really big stage now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, wow, that's a blast from the past. Anyway, Danny, you're a remarkable dude. Thank you for joining in. I know it's late where you are. Sharpie, thanks for joining
It's
in.
9:30.
Of course.
As always. Yeah, but for some
It is
people,
nearly bedtime now.
Yeah, it's nearly bedtime.
When you're pushing 40, that's late.
Yeah.
Mike, thank you for running home today and unpacking boxes and finding microphones so that you could do the show. Jordan, I really appreciate you commandeering the VP of Marketing's office every time that you do this. This is fantastic.
It's Jordan's
office.
office.
It's my
It's
office.
my office.
Yeah.
Show us something secret in there.
Oh,
Secret time.
I have the newest model right here that I
Yes.
can't talk about.
You got that arch top in there?
Arch
The arch
top.
Just
top
quick
is
plan,
here.
quick plan.
Right there. Yeah.
That would be awesome. Anyway, the next time we do this show, we're going to do a 300s and 400 studio models episode with our friend Daria Musk and Ram. They're going to play some songs. I don't know. We could do this two ways. Danny, you could play us out, or I could play a clip of Ain't No Use. You tell me.
I'll play us out, and I'll also do it for
Yeah.
a second reason. In that, as I was demonstrating the guitar earlier, I have since realized that was just coming through this microphone. The actual guitar mic wasn't even on.
Dude, even
wow.
that, even earlier, it sounded amazing. That was incredible.
So that should give the tone a little better.
Wow.
I mean, it was good
it
when it
sounded
wasn't on
awesome.
the microphone.
Totally.
All right, this for the longest time, I've sat and had these chords, and I played them. I was like, they're so beautiful and sad at the same time, and I could never figure out what the song was because I was like, this has to be something really, really sad, and I don't. The thing I think I want to write it about, I don't know where the sadness is anymore, and I realized that was incredibly depressing. I tried to write a sad song, but it's been years, and I don't feel that way no more. And I'd love to say that I hate you, but to tell the truth, I don't remember enough to. I don't remember your birthday. I don't remember your middle name. I know the time was wasted.
I don't remember much from before I walked away. Used to stare in your eyes for hours. I'm not sure what shade they are. Used to love the way that you say my name. Now I don't know if I know you were on the phone. I don't remember your birthday. I don't remember your middle name. I know the time was wasted, but I don't remember much from before I walked away. And that's not right. And I still remember the way it felt at the start and at the end. And in a way, I'm thankful for the pain it caused. I don't remember your birthday. I don't remember your middle name. I know the time was wasted, but I don't remember much from before I walked away.
Danny, you're amazing. I'm going to play Matchmaker right now, if you don't mind, before we sign off. Our good friend Trey Hensley is in the feed. Trey Hensley shot you a fire emoji while you were playing right there. Trey Hensley is a recent Grammy winner.
Okay.
Trey Hensley is one of the best flat pickers I've ever met and been able to be in this room with that I've ever seen in my life or heard. I've seen Trey Hensley work and play with Andy Powers, and it's like two dudes just melting faces. These dudes are absolute beasts with guitars. So, Trey, I'm going to ask you right now. Well, I'm going to first introduce you to my friend Danny Worsnop. Danny, this is Trey Hensley. Trey lives in a similar city as you. In fact, he might live down the street, and you might be neighbors, and you don't even know it. So he at least lives.
My address is.
He lives in Tennessee for
Okay.
sure. And I would like to play Matchmaker, and I'm going to challenge the two of you to make some beautiful music together. Your voice, your guitar playing, your writing with Trey's voice, Trey's guitar playing, and Trey's writing.
Let's do it.
And I think it might be one of the coolest things ever. So just then, we're playing Matchmaker. I will make sure that you guys have each other's contact because, my goodness, that would be a dream come true for one person, 100% me. On this podcast, that would be fantastic. Look,
For everything
Hey,
you've done
he's
for
into
me,
it.
and I imagine him, we shall do it.
let's do it for sure. Goodness gracious, these two are going to absolutely melt faces. I will make sure after this, Trey, that I connect you guys, and Danny, I connect you guys, and that would be an absolute. You would bless the music world with something. Putting the show together. Love
Thanks,
you, man, for doing it. Sharpie, my goodness, thanks for joining on. You're the reason.
You are.
That's a
All right,
And the
so
Hoobastank
cool.
reason
That's
is you.
That's a Hoobastank song, right?
Yeah.
You're the reason. All right, and Mike, it's always good to see you. Again, thanks for unpacking, Mike. We love you.
Hey, next time it'll be clean, I promise.
All right. You know what I'm going to do anyway? I'm going to kill the feed while we play this clip. Is that cool? Ain't no use. Danny Worsnop. It's only 51 seconds long. See you next time, everybody.
Love you all.
I